Welcome along, another edition of the Big Idea Show. Today, here with Ben Barnett.
Hello.
Hello. And we are talking about the holidays and the different way that it affects us and how we can deal with it more positively. But Ben, why should they listen?
Well, other than your show's amazing?
Other than that, yes.
Okay, fine. Well, why they should tune in is because we're going to be talking outside the box of the holidays, recognising how people can get stuck in a rut about how they deal with the situations or how they assume or expect they're going to go, and how to shake it up a bit and bring some new energy to the old traditional times.
There we go. If that sounds of interest to you, keep watching. The Big Idea Show is coming up next. Welcome along to another edition of the Big Ideas Show. Today I am joined by Ben Barnett. Ben, how is it going?
It's not going enormously badly.
Optimistic
Does that make
start.
sense? Exactly, yeah. Does that sound like an optimistic or pessimistic view? Yeah, it's pretty good, pretty good. Day after my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I thought I'd drop that in there.
Are you wanting us to sing happy birthday?
No, I'm good. Thank you. My grandmother does that for me every year. It's the highlight of my birthday, and I don't think you could top it, so...
So I won't try.
Okay, good.
Okay, right. Let's get back to it, shall we? It's not a show about Ben's birthday, although, you know, I don't know. You could throw in. What did you get? Anything nice for your presents?
I got this opportunity to come and talk to people on the radio.
Exactly. Okay, right. The topic that we are talking about today, let's get back to it. We're going to be talking about the holidays, aren't we? We are coming up to Christmas now, but this is going to be, I guess, a more general topic of holidays in general,
yes.
Right? And this idea of how we all go a little bit weird in the holidays, don't we?
Yes.
It heightens our emotions. So I guess I'll throw it over to you, because this is something that you've explored a lot more. What is it about the holidays and this topic, really, of exploring the holidays and the effect it has on us, that you wanted to come on and kind of discuss? Why this topic?
Well, I think there's a few different elements of it that might come up in the conversation. I'm going to kind of see where it goes. But one of the things I've noticed personally is that I find enforced holidays, so in other words, when I haven't booked time off and gone to do something else, like sun myself on a beach, which I don't need a tan for, but sometimes I still do it. I find those kind of holidays really quite tough because I'm very passionate about what I do. I have a very big vision, and so anything that intervenes in that feels to me like it's like some part of life is stopping me from fulfilling what I want to fulfill on. And equally, I often find that holidays, whether it's bank holidays or whether it's how people relate to summer holidays or that period of time when people are having holidays, as a time when I want to play and people don't want to play with me.
Yep.
You know, and I want to engage with people and I want to book people in for what I do and I want to, get my message out there. And there's people just have these very loud conversations in their head, which really occur for them like they're true about why they can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so part of the opportunity, I suppose, for me being on the show is to explore those things, like highlight some of those things for people, and then just like kind of bounce back and forwards, what alternatives there might be that I've seen, and equally things I may not have seen.
Okay. So you mentioned there kind of, I guess, how other people might respond and kind of can get, how is it for you?
Yeah.
How do you experience the holidays?
What's interesting is that it's changed just recently. Maybe in the last 2 or 3 years it's changed for me. So I used to always experience Christmas like, okay, it's just a slowing down time. Unless I've booked people in way in advance, I would find that, I'd be twiddling my thumbs a bit. I would be scrabbling around for things to do. And also, because my birthday is so close to Christmas, and I get a bit irritated when people kind of ignore my birthday and then like defer to Christmas, like, first week in December, people are like, no, can't do anything, can't go anywhere because of that. Yeah. I have this very rebellious part of me that doesn't start to really relate to Christmas until the day after my birthday, which is today.
Yep.
So then that leaves me with, oh my God, I've now got all the stuff that everybody else has been worrying about for 6 months. Or 6 weeks, I should say, crammed into 6 days.
Yep.
Yeah, which obviously keeps it very interesting for me, but just kind of really compounds that whole thing that there's a a fixed way of experiencing this time of year, and then a fixed way that other people experience us, and we experience them. You know, and my passion with working with people is all about recognizing those things and then giving people an opportunity to break out of them if they want to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And is it something that I guess is the opportunity for you here to, do you think it's more for you to find a new way of experiencing the 6 days that you call Christmas? Or I guess there's also the opportunity for us to explore how other people could break out of their things, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's both. And, you know, there's a real tendency at times, because my work involves looking at this kind of stuff, to think of it as my work and then I'm giving something, contributing to people, giving something away. But actually, you know, thanks to some conversations that you and I have had recently, I thought, well, no, maybe I should be looking at it more from a personal point of view, like what can I get? How can I change my perspective? Because if I'm not doing that, then I'm kind of being like everybody else that I'm experiencing, or at least how I think they are, which is being fixed in my mindset. It just happens that my mindset is, oh, I know the answers and I know how to make it all go the way I want it to, which actually isn't accurate. You know, there's times I feel like I'm swimming against the tide. And how I used to experience Christmas was actually whichever direction I went, it wasn't a fulfilling time.
Yeah.
You know, it's always an anticlimax, because, you know, you plan for a month for, you know, 48 hours. Yeah. It's very difficult for it to live up to the expectation. And equally, as I said, it was taking me away from some of the things I was really keen to do. Yeah. And so by about the 27th, 28th, I was like, you know, sneaking out of the house to go and, like, you know, engage with some of my clients and, you know, and and just have a detox from some turkey. Yeah.
Do you think is it a sense of kind of boredom that when you can't be, if you love what you do, and I guess I'm talking from, this is how I see and experience Christmas sometimes, is I love what I do, so I don't want to take time off, and if I have to take time off, it's boring. And that's where maybe the heightened emotions come in.
Yeah, it can be that. It can be. I mean, it can be a boredom. For me, it doesn't occur so much as boredom as frustration. Yeah. But it's very definitely. And both those emotions, by the way, are held in the lower part of the torso. So upset, frustration, those kind of things, like where life is being unfulfilling, held in the lower part of the abdomen. Excitement's held in the lower abdomen, like, you know, that whole butterfly feeling. Yeah. So the absence of it in terms of boredom would equally manifest in there. Yeah. So it is all to do with that whole, when life is not going as planned or in the direction that we want, how we feel. And as I said before, that's fine if you've scheduled and booked a holiday at the holiday time. This is as much for those people who haven't done that, or have chosen not to do that, and then how they experience, you know, everybody else's mad rush towards Christmas shopping and, like, you know, or whatever holiday time it is. Yeah. This energy or this mindset also comes in around the bank holidays. So I often find that even just a small amount of time over a bank holiday weekend throws people out for the whole of the next week. Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, like, literally they're not sure what day it is. Their appointments are missed or cancelled. There's just this real swirl that we get into if you take us slightly out of our normal patterns. Yeah. And I'm very interested in, like, you know, is that compulsory? Do we have to do that? Is that more than just alcohol fueled? Although, you know, us British have a reputation for that. But actually, is there some way that we can keep ourselves conscious and aware by being aware of that we haven't noticed that? Yeah.
Do you think part of it is this concern of wasting time? Like, I always feel, oh, it's a bank holiday, I have to make the most of it. But as you said, oh, if I haven't booked something, I go, oh, what a waste. And that's the worst thing, isn't it? To feel like there's so much you could do. It's that kind of, that dread of unfulfilled potential, like that unfulfilled potential of a day that could be so amazing. And, you know, the adverts tell us it'll be amazing and your family will all be perfect and all come together. And it's never fulfilled.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with that, actually. And a lot of the time the moment we project significance onto a particular period of time, then we're kind of setting ourselves up to be disappointed more. It's like it's the classic thing of if it rains on a bank holiday weekend, it seems to be 100 times worse than if it rains on any average weekend. And that really points us towards how much significance we're placing on it, rather than that bank holidays are more important than any other day. You know, there's plenty of people who have to work on their bank holidays. They're quite happy sometimes when it's raining, because then they don't have to think about all the things they don't get to do.
They're not missing out, are they?
Okay,
this is good stuff. Okay, we're going to have a break now, and then we'll come back. And I guess we've kind of scoped out the idea and kind of some of the things that come into play with this sort of discussion and this topic. And then I hope next section we'll go into a bit more depth of kind of pushing out towards the edges of kind of, I guess, coming to some of our own conclusions of what would work for us. And then hopefully some of the listeners out there will be able to find their own answers, kind of possibly if they fit into a similar sort of category with us. So we'll be back in a little bit. So we're back. I'm here with Ben Barnett, and this week, we are chatting about the holidays and this weird effect that it has on us, on most people, and I guess different ways of approaching it, kind of why, and also how we can maybe kind of look at different ways of being to experience it in a more positive way, and also a productive way, because that's what the Big Idea show is all about, is both looking at the emotional side of stuff, the mindset, how to be centered, how to be peaceful, but also how to be productive and be in action. So hence why I wanted to talk about this topic today, because it's a big thing. And we were saying, weren't we, in the last link, it's not just Christmas holidays that we're talking about specifically now, but any holidays, right down to bank holidays. So Ben, what is a particular area within that discussion? We opened it up generally in the last link, but now what's in a specific area you find interesting and you'd like to explore, I guess, for your personal interest, but also possibly for kind of yourself and how you deal with it?
Well, I think the area I'd like to look at is the area of creating opportunities for surprise and unexpected results. So I noticed for myself that, again, because I'm the person who's supposed to come up with the answers often, and I relate to myself as that, then I'm often just looking at, okay, what's people's normal perception of something, like the holidays, what do people normally talk about and what's their normal response, and then what do I think is the solution to that, okay? But the solution itself becomes like an ordinary, like, you know, plan B to go to, and life's way more rich than that. Like, you know, there's way more depth, and for example, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this interview today was because this is not the kind of thing that I would normally be doing 6 days before Christmas.
Okay.
Like, you know, engaging with a conversation like this, being on the radio, and anything that breaks up the normal kind of unconscious slide through the days, expecting the same results and doing the same things, for me, is an opportunity for human growth and for us to explore what's possible beyond you know, what we normally experience and what we can normally achieve in terms of results. That's of interest to me. Okay.
Yeah, and you mentioned though about solutions. You're the one that finds the solution, and it's the normal kind of path and the way through things. But is it normally, would you say it's the same solution? Because you're always the one to find the solution, is it kind of, I know obviously different people will have different solutions as an individual, and you kind of work with people as individuals, but is it the same solution, or is it that by you being the one to come up with a solution, it's already confined to a certain amount based on your perception of it?
Yeah, well, the reality is actually that any solution just creates the next problem.
Yeah.
So actually, even in me saying solution and most people looking for a solution to something, we're still limiting ourselves. So in reality, what I'm really interested in is what is it that can open people's minds and open people's experience of each other, of themselves, of a particular period of time, that says, oh, I thought this was what it was going to be like, and that would have been quite pleasant, or that would have been quite fun, or that would have been much better than last year when we had that horrendous argument or whatever happened. And just be left with the opportunity to go, wow, like I just really didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's left me with an opening, with an opportunity. It's changed my perception of somebody.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had this actually with my step family a while ago. I can't remember. It wasn't specifically around a holiday, but it was around like a birthday occasion, which is a similar thing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, definitely.
And actually, I got left with a totally different experience of my stepfather out of the conversation that we had, and it
Okay.
wasn't a conversation that would be in the normal flow of the space of a birthday.
Yeah.
So
What was the difference?
just really, I became aware of how passionate he is about his family, and what he went through to have his life go the way that he wanted it to go.
So
And that then had me realize that perhaps just putting the same ingredients into my life day in day out was why I was getting the same results out.
yeah.
Which again, until somebody stops you and points that out to you, you don't notice it, and you
Yeah.
kind of go, well, if I just work a bit harder, or invest a bit more money, or shout a bit louder, or then that will definitely make sure that things turn out this time.
Yeah.
And we're really surprised that when they don't.
Yeah, there's a nice analogy that my dad's used, and it comes from a training course that he's done called this is the sausage machine. I haven't been on the course, but he has, and I really like it because it's really simple. It's exactly that. It's if you put pork in your sausage machine, what sort of sausages are you going to get?
Yeah, exactly.
Pork. And this whole I'm going to put busyness in order
Yes.
to try and get peace and balance and contentment.
Exactly.
No, you're going to get busy stress sausages.
Exactly.
Right? Not peace
And,
sausages.
yeah, and I mean, that's a classic response that I think that this time of year, people saying, I'm too busy, but equally then experiencing busyness. Because that's what they're full of, that's what their mind's orientated around, that's what they expect year on year at this time of year. And then it becoming so pervasive that they really do think it's real. Like that's the only experience they can have.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I actually went abroad for the period between Christmas and New Year. And it was so surreal. It was just so surreal. Just none of the stuff that was normally happening was going on. And it was almost like I hadn't realized that Christmas was geographically sensitive. Like if you're in another part of the world, you get a totally different experience.
Yeah.
Like and I hadn't even. It's like I may have somewhere out in my consciousness I may have considered it, but because I never experienced it before, it was just like wow. But actually, I don't have to travel 1,000 miles or even 500 miles to get a radically different experience.
Yeah.
If I'm committed to having a different experience.
Yeah. Do you think a lot of it, maybe it should be like here's an idea for you, a family swap? Because it's often because we're with our families.
Yes.
That we have been every year, and we go back into our old habits, don't we, of when we were teenagers or when we were kids. But you have Christmas with friends, for example, and that's very different in the same way as it's very different if you're in a different location. I know when I did my ski season, it was the same. I was like, what? This is great. It's so low key. This is brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
So we'll swap families.
You know
Won't we,
what?
at Christmas?
Well, I mean, one of the things that you can do, which is kind of similar to swapping families, is just swapping the way you think about your family. And I don't know, maybe even as just a simple thing, which I've never done before. I've never done with my family, but asking people to share one thing that they've never spoken about, or they think people don't know about them.
Yeah.
Just to give you a different perspective on the people you're with. I know that at times where I've done that kind of thing, it's really shifted my relationship with people and given me an opportunity to see them in a different light.
Yeah.
I've not tried it ever with my whole family, in one scenario, to see what it might do energetically, how it might change things. But I might give that a go.
Okay, you could instead of giving kind of material gifts, we should kind of give questions, or I don't know. It feels like there could be something a bit different in there.
That's a very interesting idea. I think that there's a lot of children that might be a bit upset about that, so I may have to come to some compromise and maybe have a period of time where we give some gifts of opportunities to share our parts of ourselves that we haven't seen before, but still give away the occasional toy car and cuddly toy and a pair of socks.
Yeah. It's like when you get vouchers for favours, don't you? It's like vouchers for a question that you've always wanted to ask someone, or to share something unexpected.
That might get a bit scary, but okay, but you could. Why not? Yeah.
Definitely. Well, you were saying about kind of breaking the habits. Like we're saying, Christmas breaks our usual routine, but also we then go into a year after year after year habit of how we behave at Christmas. Like we hear the same Christmas songs, and every year I get annoyed with them because I'm like, can we not have anything different? We go from one habit into another. Break it up a bit.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting because, I know there'll be people out there going, oh my God, no tradition, we need to have certain traditions. And I do get that. But there's a point where tradition becomes really limiting, especially where it's not the conscious things that we're doing, it's the subconscious stuff in the background, the assumptions that we make with those things. And those are the things that often then channel situations and cause upset and limit the direction that something can go in. Those are the things that I think very much can be shaken up. You know, it's not like we're going to, I don't know, put something like, you know, extraordinary on the Christmas tree rather than tinsel and an angel, but perhaps, like, you know, how that's done, who does it.
Yeah.
You know, there's just looking to see what's possible and what's different around the whole experience.
Yeah.
You know, and especially if things start to go, like, you know, down that tunnel that we don't want them to go down. Start to notice that normal mood or atmosphere, or then intervening at that point. Yeah. Where there's still an opportunity to have things, you know, work and be functional. Yeah,
definitely. Sounds like we might have a little bit of a solution for how to break the Christmas cycle here. Like I've had a conversation before on another episode where we were talking about the creative process and when you come up against creative blocks. And Jim Lockey was talking about oblique strategies, and I think they're basically a set of cards where you pull things out and it's like, right, tear up your idea and start again, or it tells you to do really random things that just break whatever kind of thing you're stuck in and throw you in something completely different. We should come up with some Christmas ones that go, right, this time someone else cooks dinner, or you're not having turkey, you got to pick another kind of dish. You're having fish for Christmas or something. Just to mix things up, even if you just pick one or two and you kind of challenge yourself to
again, and you know, and again, I can hear people going, oh my God, not having turkey at Christmas. But you know, and maybe it's like cooking turkey but in an unusual way. Like, you know, like balancing that whole traditional approach and some kind of new expression. I think it's a really powerful idea.
Not just for Christmas, really.
No.
Could be for any time of year. Just whenever you're in you get into the same routine and you want to break it up, have something, you know, that's going to shake it up a bit.
You know, I totally agree with you. I've noticed that, you know, some time ago I did a transformational course, and one of the things I noticed was there was a particular feeling for each day of the week. And I could almost tell which day of the week it was by how I felt. And then that's why bank holidays would make things go really swelly, because they didn't feel like they were supposed to feel. But actually having broken out of that, realizing that, well, who says that tomorrow is going to feel the same way that every other Wednesday is going to feel? How do I know that in advance? Then I can actually start to choose and maybe even create how I want the day to feel. With the things I put in the day, with the things that I allow to spontaneously happen. And that gives me much more of a sense of being in charge of the direction of my life, rather than, you know, at the effect of it. Like, you know, just kind of trying to keep up with it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay.
So you could do something like that for the days of the week, or for the months of the year, or, like, you know, there's lots of different ways that can be done.
I think we've got a new product here, haven't we? We've come up with something on air. Right, okay, we're going to have another break now, and we're going to be back in a little bit. We're back, part 3 with Ben, and we were just chatting off air about, right, what's the last section? And I kind of went to him, right, you know what? I think we're going to make some declarations of things that we're going to do differently. We have 5 days left running up till Christmas of what we're going to do, and kind of looked at me like, oh my God. I have no idea too what my commitment to do something different is. But that's the whole point of the Big Idea Show, is that we are going up, we don't know what we're going to talk about, and we're up against the boundaries of what we already know. It's not about coming on and giving advice. We've talked lots about kind of the general broad kind of thing and how different people experience it, but now it's kind of our turn, I think, to take ourselves on a little bit more. So I haven't actually thought of mine, so I'm going to throw it at you first.
Oh,
Ben.
charming! Thanks very
but
much.
You can just
Appreciate
feel free to throw it back at me, because while you're talking, I'm going to be exploring.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about what I need to take out of the space then, first of all, because that's important for me. So, what I noticed when you said that about changing stuff up is that actually I've created this very specific role for myself at Christmas, where I'm the person who keeps it all jolly and light and makes people laugh. And if things get a bit boring, I find something to do. So I'm kind of that's the whole solution provider thing. Yeah. And so the immediate thought that comes to me is, if I don't do that, then it's going to be one of those like Christmases that, you know, dark cloud and arguments and all that kind of stuff. Like, but I realise that that's my attachment to playing that role. I can hear it, right?
Yeah.
There's still a lot of fear in not playing that role and how to then contribute something to the space of the next 5 days. People who might be dealing with things like emotionally missing people. I'm dealing with some of that myself with my daughter, and I'm left with, how do I let other people step into that space? Like, how do I encourage people to become their own, light, fun, joy, rather than, if I don't know if people are relying on me to do that. When I look back, I kind of feel like they are, but perhaps they're just not stepping into that role because I do it so immediately. There's no space. Yeah. So equally, I do need to watch that. If I don't play that role, then I go off and I sulk and kind of sit in the corner and drink far too much. So I would so I'm kind of like, well, how do I not do that? How do I not go to the extremes of either having to be the life and soul in the center or being on the outside and being completely out of the game?
Yeah.
What is the middle ground? What does that look like? And equally, how do I draw people in to creating those conversations, those interactions, that fun?
Yeah.
There was already a number of things that are quite different for me about this Christmas in terms of how I'm spending it with family, and I so I know that new dynamic's going to be there, but that's one part that I can see as a very fixed part.
Yeah.
And one of the things I would say for people to look at is, something can be fixed in a positive sense as much as it can be in a negative.
Yeah.
Just because something always works doesn't mean you should always do it. Yeah. Sometimes taking that out of the space will actually allow something better to come along.
Yeah.
And that can almost be as scary as the impending, oh my God, what are we going to do when grandmother does her thing? Or when granddad, starts doing that dance that he does. The letting go of the positive is just as transformational, if you like, so just as shakes things up as much as addressing the negative.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess is that where tradition comes in, that we go, well, it was good like last year, so we're going to do the same, and that's where traditions are built until the point where it's all lifed out, like the spark has gone of what initially created it. And but you said at the beginning about kind of wanting to contribute, but you know, obviously knowing you kind of off air as well, it's like you're always looking to contribute, but you know what? Christmas can be your time to chill out. God, you don't have to contribute.
Well, yeah, that's one of those daunting moments. It's like I think I experience the same thing as when I say to people, you could just do the same things you do, but not worry about it or not be afraid of it.
Yeah.
Like, you could still produce the same results without that anxiety, without that stress, and they kind of look at me like I've just said to them, just unscrew your right leg and then carry on walking.
Yeah.
For me, that's like oh no, actually I could get to the same place and Christmas could be an amazing experience without me having to be the jester the whole time.
Yeah.
And that would be an interesting thing to explore.
Yeah.
I'm pretty certain that if it goes disastrously wrong, I could still pull my bells on my hat and go into my jester mode. But why not step out of that space and then see what else can happen.
Like I say, give someone else that space, or kind of like pass them the jester hat.
Yeah, exactly.
This time for something. So okay, cool, I like it. Right, I've been thinking about what my thing is going to be.
Okay.
And I'm going to go back a bit, I guess, to something I noticed when I went on holiday recently. And it's something I noticed with this kind of taking too long to switch out of work mode and thinking about that, and really getting present to the different relationship I had. I guess, me and my mum are very similar and very close. But at the same time, so we, it's like anything. If you see similarities in someone close to you, that's kind of, you can have conflict, but it will also be really good. And kind of realizing how much when I'm on work mode, it's hard to then connect with her, particularly because she's my mum, and how that can change the experience of significant times where you're meant to be resting. If you've always got that, okay, I always have this, okay, I've got to be thinking about, I've got to be working something out, rather than being bored. I'd rather have something to be working out. Even if I'm not physically working, I'm like, what could I be kind of deciding upon or exploring in my head, and not engaging kind of with the present moment, really. And I guess my measure for myself of that is how much I get on with my mum. Because when I'm not, when I am like engaged, then we get on really well. And when I'm in work mode, we tend to not so much, because I get irritated.
Okay.
Because it's like, oh, a distract. She's trying to pull me out and go, come on, just relax and have a good time. And I'm like, no, I must stay in work thinking mode. But annoyingly, she's not around for Christmas, because she's done the sensible thing, like we were saying, of removing yourself from the UK environment.
Okay.
And they're away for the winter. But just being aware, I think, of that different experience, just where I go, right, no, switch it off, as opposed to, yeah, I'm saying I'm switching it off, but really in the back of my mind, anytime there's like a silent moment, I go into contemplative, exploring things in the back of my mind.
Okay,
really.
so you need a surrogate then.
What,
You need a surrogate. You need somebody else to play that same role, and
what, to be able to take on the thinking for me at the same?
No, you need somebody to be almost to be like your mum,
Yeah.
and to relate to that part of you and pull you out of work.
Yeah.
And then, like, I mean, I suppose part of that is, like, for me, I find what's really useful is declaring what I'm committed to. We've done a bit of work on that, like, in the previous months, but and letting people know if they see me looking like I've got a work face on, or contemplating stuff or making notes. It's like, okay, you got 2 more minutes to do that, and then I'm taking your pen and paper away, and then you've got to come and do this. So you got to play that, or and actually, what's interesting is that my experience of you is when fun is the order of the day, you're pretty good at generating it. So it's more just the whole intervention. And how quickly you notice, I suppose. Like for me, it's similar. It's how quickly I notice. And then how fully I give myself to whatever's next. Like, let my normal toys be taken away from me and go play with something else.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. It sounds like we've got some commitments, haven't we? Like, you're going to take your jester hat off for a bit.
Yes.
And I'm going to
try it on other people's heads.
Yes.
I'll find some ways to do that. Like, I don't know, maybe getting people to tell their favourite joke, or but I'll find some ways to engage people and have people step into that space.
Yeah, sounds good. And I'm going to turn all the Wi-Fi off and unplug.
Really? Oh my god!
Oh, I don't know about them. Yeah, but then it's the panic of
I'll be very impressed
when you turn it all back on again, and then it goes crazy, and then it's completely overwhelming.
That's not an excuse. That's like saying I can't be calm because I know that when I come back and I be stressed, it's going to be even more stressful. That doesn't fly.
Okay. I'll switch off in work mode. I think sometimes it's a winding down, isn't it? Like, I always can. But sometimes it just takes a while. And like we're saying, okay, so it's Christmas we're talking about specifically here. You've got kind of Boxing Day, New Year's Eve, then you go into Christmas Day, then you go into Boxing Day. It's 3 days, right? And it's like, how quickly, you said it kind of before, like, how quickly can you recognise and change what you're doing? And maybe it's, if you recognise that you do sometimes need a bit of time to wind down, giving yourself that time to wind down, not going, right, I'll go up until the last minute and then suddenly expect myself to switch. I'm going to go work mode, semi-work mode, and then off mode. So
okay.
How does that sound?
Okay, I'm liking the sound of that.
Does that sound like a good commitment?
Yes. What you mean gradually committing?
Gradually. No,
but being committed to gradually committing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Committing to
okay.
that slow.
Well, I mean, I think being realistic about how you manage things like that is actually really important. Some people place unrealistic expectations on themselves, often on their own shoulders. They put pressure on themselves. That's the same as trying to cook the perfect Christmas dinner or make the perfect seating plan. That is massively stressful, and you're setting yourself up to fail. So I think having realistic expectations like that is like, you give yourself a period of time to kind of break into something. I think it's really sensible.
Yeah. Okay. There we go. We've got our commitments. We're going to take another break. We'll be back in a little bit. So we are coming to a close for this week's Big Ideas show. We have been discussing with Ben Barnett the holidays and different ways of approaching them and different ways of experiencing them, haven't we?
Yes.
So should we leave with some kind of parting words, some parting bits of advice of what people out there can be doing, what listeners can be doing to maybe change the experience that they're going to have this Christmas or whatever their next holiday is, depending when they're listening?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the first thing is, and just going back to what I know really well, which is my work, the experience of assumption is held between the top of the shoulder blades. Okay. Be aware of where you're assuming things. assuming things about people's behavior, about your own preferences, and be willing to just change those things up. You know, doesn't have to be a big change. Sometimes you don't even have to know. We definitely won't know what the change is going to be. Just not doing what you'd normally do will be enough to open up something new.
Yeah.
Just pausing, you know, and being willing to be a bit awkward in that. That's like the whole standing in a lift and two people being there and not saying anything.
Yeah.
Or starting a conversation and then not feeling like you have to continue it in pleasantries. You know, you kind of let the space open up, you know?
Yeah.
So that would be definitely one thing that I would recommend people step into.
Okay, absolutely. Good stuff. Ben, if people want to know more about your work, what you do, where can they find out more info?
So I'm on social media on Holistic Therapies by Ben Barnett, and my website is benbarnett.co.uk. Please engage with me, like, you know, send me a message, although I may not be answering messages on Christmas Day, but if you have a message of help, like my Christmas Day is going exactly as it normally does, I will be delighted as soon as I get an opportunity to send you some way of shaking it up.
Yes, absolutely. Good stuff, Ben. Thank you very much indeed. I want to say a couple of other few thank yous just to close. Thank you very much to the Academy FM for hosting us, for allowing us to use their studio, and also a very big thank you to Boldfish Glass Services for their support in enabling us to bring the videos to you guys out there. So thank you to everyone, and particularly thank you to Ben. Go check out his work. Loads of videos up there, and loads of stuff, really. Like you said, we said very way back, didn't we, about you can't help but contribute.
Yeah, very true. And I love it when people engage with my work. So
yeah, so this is the chance. Get out there, people, and listen. So Ben, thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And listeners, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy it. Hopefully see you all next week.